This is exciting. Hey everyone, Anthony here from Maritime Foam. Super excited today. I am a big fan of MEGA XL, aka the Girth Dart, and I love doing mods. I love 3D printing. I love seeing the cool things that people do to make one blaster into another type of blaster. When I reviewed the big rig, I thought it was kind of a cool and inexpensive way to get into MEGA XL, but it is very uncomfortable, very front heavy. It's not really that fun of a blaster to use. I far prefer the Boomdozer over the big rig for kind of value and form factor. But I mean, there is something to be said for a small single shot MEGA XL blaster. That's why I'm excited about this mod. I'm going to be taking this Nerf rival Kronos, and instead of firing these rival rounds, we're going to be making it fire Nerf MEGA XL rounds. I have a great kit of parts here from Titan Forge Blasters. You should follow them. You should check out their Etsy store. I actually paid for the digital files for these instead of the whole kit to be printed and shipped. One, because I really enjoy 3D printing my own stuff, and two, shipping costs in Canada can be a little bit brutal. I'm always happy to pay a creator for the files to download and check something out. So super excited about that. You should check them out. This looks like it's going to be an easy mod. They do recommend putting in an upgrade spring with this mod. I actually already had one from upgrading a Kronos before, so I took that out, and I'm going to do a mod guide for this fresh Nerf rival blaster right from the beginning. So with all that said, let's get going. I have my kit of parts here, an extra piece here. I am going to put a T-pull on the back. I have a spring. Someone was just asking me tonight about some details. They're in Australia, and they were hoping to have a bit more info on the type of springs because they can't order from the same sources. I'm going to link to this spring for now, and hopefully that'll give them a bit more info. And in future, I will see if I can provide measurements that are helpful. But for now, I'm going to take this blaster apart and we are going to do our upgrade. We have our new muzzle. We have a new top rail. I did this in red just to kind of match with the MEGA XL theme. I wouldn't mind painting this one at some point. New barrel, a spacer, and some darts and some rival balls just for the gram. You know. I'm going to clear off my parts to the side and let's disassemble. I try to take things apart in a way where another screw hidden under here. I try to take things apart very slowly so I know how they go back together. There's lots of references online. Honestly, doing these videos helps quite a bit as well, as far as me being able to remember how things came apart. And things have sproinged a little bit. That's okay. We're gonna take this, put it aside. Boink. And here we have this assembly in the back, which is essentially the catch. We have this bit out here, which has come away. This is all part of the indicator, I believe. We have our plunger tube. We have our old spring. I'll always keep those springs. As you can see, our new spring is, wow, it's a lot beefier and shorter. Interesting. We'll put that aside too for now. I'm gonna remove that. We don't really need it. That can go. Get rid of this top rail piece. Get rid of this muzzle. Boy, everything must go. Actually, I think almost all of this goes. I haven't really looked up what the internals are supposed to look like with all this stuff out of here, but I think we're replacing most of it. I'm guessing, yeah, I'm guessing these come off. I mean, this is the part where I could look it up, but it's also kind of interesting to not. We want this off without hurting anything. There we go. And we're going to put that onto there. Now, one thing I am checking is my grooves here. My print is pretty good actually, but there was just a little bit of support material in there. There was a note about epoxying this in place. If you use super glue will eventually, because of the spring load, rattle this apart. I don't have any epoxy on me right now. I'm going to super glue it, and when it rattles apart, I'll fix it. Of course I put glue on the wrong side. I don't know how much this is going to matter, but I'm going to put glue there and there. And I think just from the images from Etsy, the little angle, the little groove here was pointed down. I don't know how much that matters, but that's what I have done as well. I should have really scuffed that up a little bit to put it in place. We're gonna call that one good enough. If you're doing this at home, use epoxy. Do it right. Don't do it like I just did it. When I had to look at the Etsy listing, it does need to, there are some things that need to be trimmed. Okay, so I'll repeat what I was saying earlier about how amazed I am at how precise some people are when it comes to creating their parts. And if you follow instructions on this one, it is no exception. This is also very precise. I am going to take off a little bit more. That's just me being cautious. I don't want to take off more than I need, but that's really starting to fit well. And then I will do that on the other side, and I'll probably fast forward all this stuff. All right, so we now have that sanded down. We also need to sand down this area here to make room for the new tube here. So we're gonna take that. We're gonna take this whole area here down. I thought it might be easier if I used a Sharpie just to show. So it looks like we need to take down everything that I'm taking here by 4 or 5 millimeters apparently. So that's just kind of looking at the Etsy page where I got this from Titan Forge Blasters. So we'll take that down. 4 or 5 millimeters is quite a bit. So we will, whoops. So I guess I'm gonna put that again in here. I mean, I guess I can see why. Yeah, things are just being held up and out of the way a little too much right now. So no problem. Let's get out our trusty Dremel again, and we're gonna take that whole area down. Do I have anything for measuring? I don't. So I'm going to eyeball it. I'm gonna say I will take it down to, I don't know, here. tricky to get all those pieces the same height. I think that will do it though. I need to do the same thing on the other side, but I am going to just see how things are feeling fit wise here before I do. And if my Dremeling is messy enough that this won't slot in there. Oh, nope, it seems to go in there just fine. Oops. Get that where it should go after. This all seems okay. Still, it's maybe not quite ground down enough. I don't know if you'll be able to see there, but it's still sticking up. It's still sticking up quite a bit higher than it should be. I'm gonna have to go down a little further in. There we go. I would say that fits pretty well. In fact, I think I probably went further than I needed to up there. And I think from looking at this, what I really needed to do was go in further here. I just kind of went all in because that's all going to be covered. So I just took a bunch of it out. All right, let's see. It's a mess. Put that there. I think we are in business on this side. This looks like it's down in there really well, and it looks like it fits great. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of the shell. Let me just slip this into place maybe. Oh, that's starting to look good. Very cool. All right, I'm going to put this aside for a second, and I love this. Bloop. Neat. I'm going to put this aside for a second and grind out the other side. Here we are, we're back. My iPhone has been giving me a little bit of trouble and recording stopping, but that's okay because you know what? We've done all our Dremeling out here on both sides, all here and here, and we've made room by Dremeling along here on the outside of the shell. We've made room for our muzzle, and then here on the inside where I'd marked, we've dremeled all that on both halves. We've glued in our stopper piece so that when we put in our spare round, it doesn't go inside of the shell and get lost. And now we are ready to reassemble. So it's actually good that we stopped because honestly, I kind of refreshed myself on how a bunch of this works. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna lay this bit of the slide here. We're going to take these two pieces right here. The smaller one goes on the top, and these just kind of form, these just form a little bit of a slide here that when you, there we go, when you prime the blaster, it just keeps you from having exposed parts underneath. It's actually, it's kind of neat. It just kind of slides open like that. So we'll put that in like that. We're not going to need this piece, and we're not going to need this piece. These are for, and if you ever want to see how to put those back in, Captain Xavier has a great Kronos reassembly guide, and he goes through that. Essentially this, once it's primed, goes on here, and then this little piece goes like so under here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're not going to use it. I'm not going to go through it. He does a better job at showing you how. So we have this here. We're going to put these pieces back in. I think keeping the safety would be good for this. This goes on here like this. This bit can be a little bit tricky. I actually accidentally sproinged mine away. This is actually a piece out of a spare Kronos that I have disassembled. But this little piece here, the spring here goes like that. The little prongs go on either side of this nub. This tab should be straight up, and this goes down like this. So this little spring here, return spring, magnetism. See, I did it wrong. Those little pieces of the metal, they should go on either side of this tab, and then they go on either side of this post. And that helps return it. If you turn it like this, it should return to the top like that. Once we have those in place, we put in our trigger. We put the trigger in the right way, like so. That goes over top of this catch, and that should all be good. So something to note here: if you're putting the stock spring back in, it has so much pre-compression. You actually want to, I'll just show you here. You actually want to, I'm not actually going to do it fully. You actually want to prime the blaster so that this is clipped in. Otherwise, this is very hard to manage. I think with our new spring, we'll be okay. There's not a whole lot of there's not any pre-compression on our new heavier spring. And this is an Out of Darts upgrade spring for the Kronos. I'll put a link to it. It makes this thing a pretty stiff prime. And that's why we don't need those other pieces in here, because we're actually going to put in this T-pole. And that's this is from Thingiverse. I'll put a link underneath, and that kind of goes right in like that. So that's why we don't need these priming indicator thingies. All right, so we have, that's very snug in there now with that O-ring in there. We have our top rail kind of pushed right down on the front of this, and this goes in here. So now we can we want to line this, and it has grooves up with that. So it slides right in there. It kind of is easiest to slide it all in at once, in a way. There we go. Once we get that like that, we'll make sure that's lined up. We push it down in a little bit, and we make sure everything is lined up. Everything seems fine to me. And while we're doing that, very often, a few things here and there will come out of place. So let us get those back like that. We will get these little guys back like this, small one on the large one. We'll slide those in. They go in there. Now, when we put in our plunger tube, we want to make sure this notch is pointed up. It needs to be up in order to catch in the catch. And then trigger gets pulled, pushes this up, and out our plunger goes. So let's put in our new spring. I'm gonna do this way. I think I will prime this, which, you know what? I'll see if I need to first. If you do prime it, it's kind of a good way to know that you have everything positioned well. The only thing is this spring is a lot more powerful, so I really don't want to accidentally have it come on primed. Just watch your fingers, kids. Okay, so a lot easier to deal with this though if it is primed. So that goes right in there. Everything here is in position, it looks like. You want to check and make sure this thing doesn't come out of position while you're jangling things around. Because if it does, it can stop the blaster from firing. What this is this just makes sure you completely finish your priming cycle. You could operate the blaster without this, but it's good to have it in there. You could kind of get into a bit of a half primed, stuck weird place without that. All right, all that said, let's put this blaster back together and see how we did. There is one screw that goes in here before you put on your slide. Don't forget to do that. Like that. I did briefly consider putting this spring in as well, but I don't know how. I don't know if the catch can handle that. So for now, we're just going to do the upgrade. This piece, if you notice it, we don't need this because this piece is actually to help catch this little door nubbin for loading rival rounds. So we do not need that. We do not need those. I keep all those bits and bobs. I don't know why, but I do. And all right, so with that, I'm going to put this back on. Now, I did notice that Titan Forge blasters, I think they said they put some tape around the O-ring to help with the seal between the new 3D printed barrel and the plunger. I had a pretty tight seal, so I didn't do that. So we'll see if I live to regret that. Well, hopefully I'll live to regret it. I don't think I'll die in the next few minutes, but hopefully I won't regret it. I feel like maybe we needed a little bit more Dremeling. I think this rail is actually being pushed up a little bit, which things are not going to like being put on there. That's something for me to fix after, though. It's not a big deal. Moment of truth. Let's put in our spare. That fits in there really well. Let's put in our XL round. Oh yeah, we're already primed. That's right. That's pretty good. Not bad at all. I wonder if I put in this one as well, if I could even get a little bit more. All right, we are going back in. I'm going to add that other spring, the original stock spring, and the new one, and see if I can get the performance to be the same as the big rig, because right now it's a bit less. All right, we have it back apart. We're gonna look at a couple things really quick. This is a very, very snug fit, and the tolerances on my printer might not quite be cutting it. So we're just going to do a tiny bit of sanding on that. And again, just that reminder, not a commentary on their parts. These are my own parts that I printed with their files. So I'm sure if you get things from them, you might be fine. I think that'll be much, much better. Awesome. All right, so that was the first thing that I wanted to do. I wanted that to sit nice and even. It looks like if I wanted to, I could actually put this pin back in here too, just for extra stability, but boy, I don't think we need it. And I might want that pin for something else. here's what we will do. We're going to take this guy out, this assembly. I'm gonna grease this as well. Grease around this moving piece. I think I might put a tiny bit of Teflon tape around this. It's already quite snug, but since it's not a moving piece, I'm gonna put some around it. A little bit more snug. Is it too snug? Oh, it's pretty snug now. I am going to try a tiny bit of Teflon tape under this. This seal feels not very tight. Just a quick and dirty insert. It's the next day. I fired this a bunch of times. I ended up taking out the Teflon tape. Performance took a huge dip after firing it a bunch. I thought maybe I cracked something. I took it apart. It looked like it could come a little bit loose. I just took it all out, and my performance is still great. It might have been a little bit higher when I first put the tape in, but not enough if it's going to be an issue. And I know there's lots of controversy around using Teflon tape. I'm going to use some. See how I do. I'm going to call that enough. Put some of my ever dwindling grease on there. There we go. Perfect. And now, this time, I am going to nest these springs together because I would like to see if I could get my performance to around the same as the big rig with what I have on hand. As I said, Titan Forge blasters, they seem to, with a K26, I think they said, a K26, they were getting 80 FPS. So I don't know that I can do that. But I mean, if it's this difficult, do I really even want to do it? I'm gonna try it. This is not gonna be a good time to prime that. Anyway, all right, so I have my two springs in there. I'm gonna put this back in here. I'm gonna be very careful to not trigger that. This is still in place. All these are there. I have my Teflon tape around there. I'm gonna put some thread locker when I do this because I think I stripped that a little bit. And yeah, I definitely will need this T-pole now. Put a dart in this thing. That's more the performance we were looking for. So as long as we can prime it again without it falling apart, I think we're in business. I'm going to switch to the other camera. Now we have our modified Kronos with our T-pole. Oh, that is a heavy prime. So right straight at the target. Whoa. That's pointed straight ahead. I wouldn't want to do that all day, but That's pretty accurate. I'm pretty happy with that. Just for science, we're going to see how our modded Kronos firing MEGA XL fires with stock. This is not recommended. I just thought it would be interesting to see how it did. I mean, yeah, I can see why we would upgrade the spring. I still think it's kind of interesting to see what it does. Whoop. Just for comparison, let's fire one out of a big rig. Again, this is against stock. Yeah. So, we saw that. Let's see how our fully modded with a spring upgrade does. There you have it. We now have a much more comfortable and compact version of the big rig. See you later, big rig. This thing fires so straight. The only downside to this, because I had to double up a Kronos upgrade spring that I'll try to find details on, and what I think was a spring out of a Retaliator, it is incredibly heavy to prime. I kind of have to think that the prime would be a little bit better maybe with what Titan Forge Blasters recommended, but you know, as long as it was close to that, I mean, that would be fantastic. So I'm gonna, that's heavy. I mean, I would probably, I don't know, maybe I'd run around with this primed a bit. I think it would, this would have to lose quite a bit of spring tension before I was too worried about it. So maybe if I had this on my hip or whatever, I would have it primed while I was running around. Blasphemy? Maybe, but it's such a heavy prime. I don't think any of the kids could operate this now, but whatever, this is for me. Shoots so straight. This was fun. This is a great little kit. It looks really cool. Doing the installation was not difficult. I would love to get some blue accents on this thing maybe. I might try to do something to make it a little bit more MEGA XL themed, but all in all, this is a great little project. I hope this helps you if you were thinking about getting these files off of Etsy and doing a print. If you're thinking of ordering from Titan Forge Blasters directly, I would definitely recommend that. The main reason I don't usually is just the shipping is brutal where I am. If it was an easy thing for me to do, I probably would. Really great mod, really clean work. Any of the difficulty on kind of installing, all on me. I can't wait for someone to hit me with it so I can see what kind of a punch it packs. Punch it packs.